Welcome to our MERLIN webinar. Great that you participate. Few people are still entering, but I think we should start because our guest speaker today also has a strict schedule, and Sana Libiete needs to leave a few minutes before 4 o'clock. So we should not waste a lot of time. So my name is Daniel Hering. I'm together with Sebastian Birk, the coordinator of the MERLIN project. I have the honor to moderate the session today a bit. I will not say very much, but just as we have a pretty diverse group today listening, MERLIN is a big European Union funded project that deals with the restoration of freshwater ecosystems across Europe. And we have now, in fact, our webinar number 34 in the lifetime of MERLIN. So we had quite a very interesting range of topics related to, ecology, social economy, but also to governance and implementation of restoration measures. Today, we have the honor to have two speakers. Daniel Torell from the Swedish Forest Agency, where he works since 20 years. Daniel is a biologist, and he is also partner of the MERLIN project. And we have a second guest speaker, Sana Libiete, who is from Latvia. She is a forester, so he has a forest education, but also with a certain focus on social sciences and anthropology. And she is at the same time also a university teacher of the Latvian University of Sciences, of Life Sciences, sorry. So together they will give a talk today on blue targeting, a forestry planning tool along small streams. So a topic that is also very interesting for the MERLIN community and beyond. And we are looking forward to your talk. Before we start, maybe one technical remark. So if you have questions, please write them in the chat. So we will do the question answer session afterwards, basically that I try to summarize a bit the questions if we have very many and try to prioritize a bit. So by default, I will ask basically the questions you have posted in the chat. We may also allow a few of you to directly say their questions here in the audience. Thank you very much, and the floor is yours, Sana and Daniel.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm happy that so many of you joined this webinar, and we'll do our best to present this practical and useful tool for streams and forests. So let me share my screen. So just let me know when you see my
we see it now.
Good. So blue targeting, it's a tool for best management practice for forestry along small streams. And this tool was originally developed by WWF Sweden in cooperation with the forest sector in the years 2007 to 2011. And it was constructed for small streams with a width of less than 10 meters, or approximately 10 meters, and for boreal and Scandinavian conditions. However, by changing the in-data, this tool can be adapted to streams in other biomes. And a colleague of mine was for a couple of years ago in Brazil, for instance. So it can be adapted to other parts of the world as well. And this tool, it's scientifically based, but it's simplified to be used by non-professionals in practice. And this is the tool. It's a simple checklist with 2 sheets of paper, easy to use for anyone. And I will try to give you an overview of what these papers say and what the results can be used for. So there are several steps in blue targeting, and the first step is to gather present data. For example, electrofishing data and existing data concerning the chemical status of the water. And the second step is the inventory of stream sections using the simplified checklist that you just saw. So that's the field inventory. And the third step is an assessment of CISA, and I'll come back to that, what that means. And that is the base then for the blue targeting classification, which can be used for forest management plans at different geographical levels. So, assessment of CISA, this stands for, C stands for conservation value, I for impact, S for sensitivity, and A for added value. And the data on conservation value illustrates the potential for physical conditions to harbor a natural composition of flora and fauna. And as you know, in all ecosystems, higher habitat heterogeneity gives conditions for more species. So a great physical variation means high conservation value. And the conservation value is assessed for the stream and the riparian zone, usually forest. And the stream and the riparian zone should be considered as one ecological unit. And now more specifically in what this includes, and I'll come back to what you see on the screen now. So this is what it says on the checklist regarding conservation value, and you should just answer yes or no. So is there strong habitat variation, yes or no? And regarding dead wood, you should say if there are more than 7 pieces of dead wood in the stream per each 100 meters. Are there rapids or swiftly flowing water? Is there a stretch with lots of boulders? And regarding special biotopes and species, you should on the checklist answer if there is or if there are natural waterfalls or braided channels. And braided channels means that the stream splits up into at least 3 streams that unifies downstream. You should also note if it's clear water without brown color, if it's a lake inlet or outlet or a tributary inlet where you are in that section. And concerning the riparian zone, you should mark if it's a riparian zone for more than 75% of the section. You should note if it's a natural composition of 3 species, and if it's a flooded zone or groundwater outflow or spring. So it's just yes and no to these, to what you see here. And regarding the impact, many human activities, as you know, affect water courses physically, chemically, or biologically. And the impact is assessed for the stream itself, for the riparian zone, and for the water quality. And the impact section shows where measures in field are needed to improve the naturalness and decrease the human impact. And more specifically, let's see what it says here on the screen. So you should mark regarding the stream if this is true or not. So the stream is not cleaned or not straightened. There is no serious sedimentation. There is no water regulation or extraction of water. There is no artificial migration barriers. And regarding the riparian zone, the functional riparian zone, it's of extremely high importance for stream biology. And an ecological functional zone generally has a mix of tree species, a mix of tree height, and of tree age. And the effects on water, as you probably know, is like shading, it's filtering of water, it's litter input, and it's dead wood input. And on the checklist, you mark if there is a functional riparian zone. You mark if it's true that it's no inflow from ditches, since ditches most often transport organic or inorganic particles, leading to the risk of siltation. You mark if there's no soil damages, and soil damages like tracks from heavy vehicles and site preparations, as you know, may lead to soil particles entering the stream. And if there's no roads, you mark that as well. And when it comes to water quality, so water quality is of course of great importance for the stream biota. And since chemistry is hard to observe, it is very difficult to assess the quality of water by visually observation only. And therefore, the checklist is mainly focusing on structures and elements. However, there are some visible indicators on water quality. And those are here as you can see them. So you mark if there's no turbid water. And as you know, some waters are naturally turbid due to fine grained soil in the catchment. And in some cases, there is an abnormal turbidity, which may cause siltation. You mark if there's no anthropogenic litter, no eutrophication, and no point sources. So no discharge of polluted water from human activities that affect the water quality. And regarding the sensitivity, that means the risk of sedimentation outflow to running waters, which is one of the most severe problems we have in forest streams. And forest operations may damage the upper soil layer, leading to erosion and hence flow of inorganic matter into the stream. And what you should mark here on the checklist is if there are soil types tending to erode, for example, sand, silt, or peat. And you should mark if there's a slope towards the stream. As you see on the picture here, there's a slope. You should also mark if there's a wet or moist riparian zone, since damages to wet and moist areas may lead to soil erosion. And you should also mark if there's a spring or outflow of water in the riparian zone. Right, so let's move on to A, added value. So besides conservation, impact, and sensitivity, there may be other interesting aspects which can influence the degree of consideration in forestry. So for instance, there may be cultural values or ancient remains that must not be damaged by forest operations. However, as you know, there may arise a conflict between keeping a dam of cultural interest and the elimination of a dam to regain connectivity. Also, there may be nature protection or recreational area close to the section you are doing in you're studying. Also, there could be actions for restorations which have been done or are planned, like fishways that may require special attention by forestry. And finally, there may be occurrence of especially interesting species. So now we went through the CISA, conservation values, impacts, sensitivity, and added value. And now you're at the bottom of the checklist, and you will fill in the scores and the total sum. And you will notice the blue targeting class. And there are four classes. The first one is water requiring general consideration. The second one is water requiring enhanced consideration. Then there is a third one, water requiring special attention in the stream or in the riparian zone. And finally, there are waters that are to be left untouched. And just a second. So for each blue target, there is a set of considerations regarding the width of the riparian zone, the width of driving vehicles close to the stream, regarding crossing of the stream, and regarding amount of coarse dead wooded debris. So for example, let's have a look at this blue target, water enhanced. So it says, and these are Swedish conditions. So the riparian zone should be somewhere between 15 and 30 meters. Regarding driving, no driving should occur within 10 meters from the water edge. And regarding crossing, no crossing with vehicles should be minimized. And if you have to cross the stream, you should do it on bridges. That could be temporary bridges as well. And regarding dead wood, you should leave or create at least 7 pieces of dead wood, 1 meters long minimum and 10 centimeters in diameter for every 100 meters. So that's the recommendations. And the blue targets can be presented on a map, as you see here. So you might notice that the streams have a different color depending on what blue targeting class they are considered to have. So it's a way to show it. And my final slide shows the manual, which we have briefly gone through now. And this manual is in several languages on the website of the previous project WWF. You have the link here. Yeah, by that, I'd like to hand over to Zane, who will tell you about some experience from Latvia.
Okay, thank you, Daniel, and for the overview, and then I'll give a little bit of information about the application and introduction of blue targeting to a wider audience in Latvia. So just a little bit of background for Latvia. We have a lot of forest and we have a lot of water. And that means that riparian forests take up a considerable area of the country. And as for the water protection, we use fixed width riparian buffers that are meant to protect water quality, to reduce erosion risks, and also to preserve the characteristic landscape of the riparian areas. And the width of these riparian buffers, it varies from 10 to 500 meters. And the width of riparian buffers in Latvia depends on the stream length. Forest management in these riparian buffers, it is limited. For example, you cannot do any clear felling in a 5-meter zone, except for the grey alder stands, which should be converted to some more valuable broadleaved forests. And you can do no main felling in a 10-meter zone, except in cases of windthrow and if you have to remove some fallen trees. But thinning is allowed, and so forest management is not entirely restricted. However, the forest owners, they mostly choose to leave the riparian buffers alone. There are several reasons. One of them is economic considerations, but also the lack of knowledge of what is the best way to manage these riparian areas. And that forest owners simply do not know. They do not have this knowledge and this information. And this, unfortunately, often results in unfavorable outcomes for water quality and also for terrestrial and aquatic biodiversity. And you can see two examples of such unfavorable situations in the photos. The upper one is pure spruce stand along the stream, which is maybe not as large a problem in Latvia as it is in Sweden, but still there are some places when these pure spruce stands are left and have been planted and are left along these forest streams. And the second one is a grey alder stand, which has partly collapsed, and thus the fallen trees are blocking the water flow and also increasing this problems in the water course, and so reducing this quality, of course, of the stream itself and also the riparian zone as such. And yes, could you switch slides, please? And yeah, thank you. And so, considering everything I already mentioned, so blue targeting is actually a very good way to present forest owners with a practical tool that would guide them in making decisions about their forest. And that is why also during this WWF project that Daniel already mentioned, we adjusted this tool a little bit to Latvian conditions. We did some small adjustments, for example, as refers to the size of the boulders. We are not a stony country. We do not have boulders of a large size, but other than that, the main idea was the same, and basically the tool is the same. And the aim was that it will stay as a voluntary tool to guide forest management and forest owners in choosing the best options to manage their riparian forests. During the WWF project, there were several workshops where we did some introductory courses to the tool, also together with the Forest Advisory Service Center. The picture is from one of these first workshops. And also now, as far as I know, this application is taught in the lifelong learning courses to the forest owners that are given by the Forest Advisory Service Center. Also, there is a follow-up within the frames of another project, quite a large-scale project, Live Goodwater IP, which has included this overview of blue targeting in the lifelong learning module on surface waters. And thus, this tool is being taught also to the audience that is intended for this Goodwater IP. The aim of the Goodwater IP project is to improve the quality of water in water bodies at risk all over Latvia. So, and that's good. It has quite a good reach. reach to the society and to landowners and land managers. Also, introduction to blue targeting is given to forest science master students at Latvia University of Life Sciences and Technologies. I teach a course there, which is mostly about forest and water interactions, and also I give an introduction to blue targeting during this course, and we also do some field work in our outdoor field day, and we get a hands-on experience on the blue targeting field inventory. Okay, the next slide, please. Also, one interesting thing I wanted to mention is that this tool has already actually has been used in a master thesis. It has been tested. The management recommendations specifically of the blue targeting have been tested in a master thesis that was dealing with the riparian forest vegetation and tree species diversity in a private forest property by the banks of the Ogre River. A student conducted quite a thorough vegetation and tree stand structure assessment, and also this blue targeting field inventory, and the final conclusions were positive mainly, but the student also concluded that the management recommendations in her case reflected this riparian forest diversity partly, and suggested that assessment of the forest stand also should be included in the application. But however, it has to be mentioned that this case study area was quite complex in terms of biodiversity. It was quite diverse. It was quite area with quite an interesting terrain and also quite high vegetation diversity. So in such kind of areas, maybe we do need another and additional assessments. Okay, the next slide, please. Okay, yes, and when Daniel approached me with a question about this webinar, then it was a few weeks before our fieldwork of the master's course, and I decided that I could actually ask the students how they feel about this tool and what do they think. What do they think about the clarity of the protocol? Are these questions sufficiently detailed to evaluate the state of the water body? Is the general principle understandable, and do they deem that it is correct for our conditions? And also, do the management classes and the management suggestions, do they reflect the forestry praxis in Latvia? And are these tools like this useful for decision making in forestry? And also, I asked their opinion what should be improved for a better practical application of this tool in Latvia. So we did this field inventory, and then I asked for immediate opinion in the field, and then also for subsequent written voluntary evaluation of the tool. And as a result, I got 6 voluntary responses, which is quite good out of the group of 15 people, I guess. And then, yes, the results. The next one, please. What did the students think? All students think that the protocol is clear, that everything is understandable in the in this field inventory work, that they know what to do, what to look at, and how to fill in this checklist. If the questions are sufficiently detailed, yes, they think that they are sufficiently detailed. And about this principle about evaluating the river and making decision about the forest, is it correct? 5 respondents agreed, but 1 respondent stated that the assessment of the forest stand is necessary for achieving the best results in forest management planning suggestions. Do the management classes and the management suggestions, do they reflect the forestry practice in Latvia? 3 respondents thought that they do. 3 stated that partly, and that these decisions should always be based on the situation on site, and also they stressed that more detailed assessment of the forest stand should be helpful to make a better consideration for further management. All respondents thought that these tools like blue targeting are very useful for decision making in forestry. 2 people thought that they are useful for those forest owners who have little or no knowledge about forest management, but 4 respondents thought that such tools are useful for all forest owners, also for those who are quite advanced and who have quite a good knowledge about forest management already. About improvements in Latvia, so some students found that maybe the wording is a little bit confusing. Maybe some places the points are given for affirmative reply and others for negative reply. Well, that could be a case of translation from Swedish or English to Latvian in this case. More detailed and straightforward explanations that leave less room for interpretation would be helpful. For example, one of the given examples was, what is normal turbidity? How should we describe normal turbidity? Yes, they also mentioned that inclusion of forest standards assessment would definitely be helpful and would be an improvement. Also, they suggested development of an application with quite an interactive interface with photo recognition, like artificial intelligence-based automated results calculation and so on and so forth. But concerning this application and apps about these remote places, for example, where we need to do these assessments, so that any tools that are heavily web-based and that they rely on the network all the time, they don't work so well in our case, and that's why we have actually we are using this these photo checklists, and so far they work just quite fine in our case. But yes, of course, improvements could be done always. Yeah, that was from my side everything I wanted to tell you about practical implementation and practical examples. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much, Sana and Daniel, for this talk. So another interesting tool we can apply for stream assessment, also for stream restoration, or particularly in forest areas. So again, I would like to invite the entire audience to place your questions in the chat. There are currently only a few, but I think we can start now with those, and then we see how it develops. Personally, I would have plenty of questions, I must say. So I start with the question that has been posted by Sebastian Bill. How are you tackling the beaver topic in your management recommendations? The background is that in our Swedish case study in MERLIN, we were particularly dealing with beavers, and they may alter almost everything. And well, this is not only affecting, of course, assessment, but also to a great deal the recommendations for management and restoration.
Did I get it right that you wonder how the beaver if it's sort of included some way in this blue targeting?
Yeah, is it considered at all? Yeah.
I'm not totally sure, but I think it could be during this interesting species section.
Yeah.
That's where you could mark that. But otherwise, I think, I mean, it will be, if there's a beaver there, you will have more dead wood, for instance. So you will have more structures caused by the beaver. So indirectly, you will most probably, I would say, get a higher score if there's a beaver in the area. What do you say, Sanna?
I agree. I think it's reflected in the species and also in other, other aspects that we evaluate beaver activity. Not specifically as beaver dams, I think, or was there beaver dams? I don't think so. No.
Good, thank you. So we continue with a question posed by you and Laurie. You talked about straightening. Is deepening considered? And an additional question posted by Ewan. are there links to the Water Framework Directive classification, or is this something completely independent?
If it's linked to the Water Frame Directive.
Yeah.
Good question. I don't know actually. I don't think so. What do you say, Zanne?
I don't think so either. No, I don't think so.
So the assessment is not related, and what's about, so this is basically the next question that appears on the chat again by Sebastian. The management recommendations you draw, how are they related, for example, to these river basin management plans under the Water Framework Directive? Is there any link, or do you consider this as something completely independent?
It might be that when this was constructed that they took this into consideration, but it doesn't say anything like in the manual or on the checklist or so on. So what do you say, Sanna?
It is not directly linked to the Water Framework Directive, but I would say indirectly, yes, because the activities that we do in the forest, they could be linked to the measures that are used to improve the water quality, also mentioned in the river basin management plans. But also there is also the question about the size of the rivers. I would say that we are targeting all rivers, also the very small streams, and actually it's very often, especially the small streams, that need the most protection, because they're not sometimes they're not included in this. And also about this deepening and straightening, Daniel, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think deepening is not included unless we know beforehand that it is done, and we can include it in this description of the like the present data about the stream. But we focus on the aspects that we can evaluate in the field, that we can see. Deepening is not always something that we can see. Straightening we can very often see, or we can, that a bit more information on that, let's say.
Good, thank you both. So there are more questions now popping up. Maybe we can first combine two questions that relate to the scale. So there is a question related, how long are these stretches you are assessing? And Ewan basically amended this question with, is the assessment purely reach-based, or can it also be combined within a catchment?
So regarding the length of the sections, they can be different. So, but they should not be less than approximately 100 meters. So more than 100 meters. And when the stream characteristics change, you make a new section.
Okay. So this is basically then how many of these river habitat survey methods basically operate. They usually try to assess some sort of homogeneous sections.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Right.
is there some way to combine all the assessment results of these individual reaches within a subcatchment or a watershed?
Good question. I mean, the main idea of this blue targeting tool is to, I would say, for small forest owners, that has, like, let's say 30 hectares of land. How should they treat their or manage their forest along the streams? But I'm not sure if I haven't seen if you could put like a landscape level on this. Have you, Zanne?
No, we haven't done it on such scale. But well, of course, if you survey the entire catchment, all water bodies in the catchment, then you can put it together. if that's the question, if that is worthwhile, if that's really the main aim of the tool, I guess I wouldn't. Yeah, I'd say. But again, coming back to this comments and this some results that we got, that it would be good to include this stand assessment, and it would be maybe more catchment based. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it could be something can be developed in this regard further.
Another question posted by Ines Sharif is, there are riparian zone recommendations for Swedish conditions. So basically that's what you have presented. Are there recommendations for other areas too, or for different types of trees? So, well, how do you basically stratify your recommendations?
So in this Interreg Baltic Sea region project WAMBUF some years ago, where this was translated and adapted to several of the Baltic Sea region countries, there were made adaptations. So there are some differences in the checklist depending on country. But as you maybe saw on the list, it's Nordic countries that we developed it for, like the Baltic states, Finland, Sweden, for instance.
Yeah. I understood the question in that way. Well, you are mainly focusing in your recommendations. You have presented on this direct riparian zone. Is there any other, let's say, type of group or group of recommendations for restoration or for management, let's say on obstacles, or let's say on catchment scale measures?
I don't quite follow the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, Ines, you may explain a bit further what you mean by your question. So, are you still around? No, apparently she has left already. But my understanding was basically if there are let's say groups of measures you are targeting. So you have measures related to the riparian zone. Do you also have measures related to obstacles, for example, or measures related to the
stream
land use
or
in the entire catchment, or to in-stream measures, for example?
Well, for the stream, there are recommendations to what you could do, but it's I would say it's not for mainly adapted for landscape level. It's more on sections and stand level. However, I think landscape level is very important, but it's not mainly for that level.
In our case, we do have, yes, also some recommendations for what to do in the stream itself, how to remove obstacles in what case, and like also for the deadwood amount and how to do some renaturalization measures in the stream, but also a bit about water quality improvement in relation to the diffuse pollution coming from the catchment, from agricultural areas and from forest areas. So what kind of structures you can use before, for example, the drainage system enters the river, that you can use like sedimentation ponds, peak flow control structures and such. So we do, yeah, that kind of recommendations. If I understood correctly the question, I'm not sure.
Yeah, this was at least also my understanding of this question. So again, for all the participants, you are welcome to post further questions if there are any. In the meantime, I would like to ask both of you, who is your target audience with this method? So who is actually using it, or of whom are you hoping he or she will be using it in the future?
In Sweden, the Forest Owner Association uses it when producing forest management plans. or at least it's an option for the forest owner to add it to the plan. So it's on their website, and it's up and running, you could say, since 6 years ago or 8 years ago, or something like that. So forest owners and the planners of forest management plans, I would say, is the target group in Sweden, at least.
In Latvia, it's private forest owners. Also, they have this tool is available, and the checklist and the information, and also they get information during these courses. How to use it? Well, unfortunately, we don't really have checked how many actually use it. That would be very interesting to know what is the outreach actually and what are the results. But yeah, as for availability and for the intended audience, it's private forest owners.
Good. Any more questions? Susanne and Daniel. So from the results you have already assembled with this method, could you make some sort of ranking? What are the prime problems of streams, of forested streams in the areas you have assessed?
Well, in Sweden, we don't have fixed buffer zones. And one problem we have is that very few trees are left along the streams when it comes at final felling. And that could be because there are like only spruce trees, so they might cut them down because you would prefer maybe the deciduous forest. But then again, it might happen, unfortunately, too often that there are new spruce trees planted close to the stream. Not always, of course, but I would say in many cases we have too narrow riparian zones in Sweden.
Well, in Latvia, I think it's if to speak about problems for the water bodies, I think it's mainly suspended solids, diffuse pollution, specifically nitrogen in some areas, phosphorus in some areas, but mainly I would say the suspended solids, which are the limits are exceeded quite often. And then, yeah, what could be done to improve the situation is, I guess, better composition of riparian zones to improve this composition. Because yes, forest owners, they, as I said, they often don't do anything. They just choose to leave these areas alone, even though they could thin, and they could improve this structure of the riparian forest so that it would be able to capture more of these unwanted stuff that goes into the rivers.
So it basically all comes down in the end to the riparian zone, to the way the riparian zone is managed or not managed.
Yeah, a lot of it, but not only. Of course, there is also water connects all kinds of land uses. Water connects agriculture, urban settlements, everything, and then everything that comes together, all these kinds of pollution they just and very often this forested riparian zone is like the last resort before the water enters the stream, and then the forest has to take care of it all, and then in that case, yes, you could say that the structure of the riparian forest is very important.
But there is another question by Yoon. Are the nutrients coming from forest operations or from the adjacent floodplain? I think this is mainly to you, Sana.
Okay. Okay. I'd say it depends on the specific situation. There are cases when catchment comprises agricultural land, forest land, even some settlement, maybe with poorly managed wastewater, and then it comes together from everything that is not managed properly there. But in some cases, yes, it can come from forest operations as well, especially if the forest operations are carried out with poor regard to water quality, like driving across drainage ditches without proper enforcement and yeah, like that. Yeah.
Good. So if there are no more questions, I would like to thank both of you for this really interesting talk and a tool that is directly related to the connection of forest and freshwater, especially also for the small streams that are so often neglected, also with the Water Framework Directive. That is something that is really useful. And it's good to see also the experiences you have made with it. Just to announce how we will continue here with this MERLIN webinar. So as most of you might know, MERLIN will be extended by 6 months. So we will have basically a time now until the end of March next year. So we will have time for a couple of additional webinars. So at least 6, we would say. And most of them will now be related to the core MERLIN results. So we will introduce a couple of our key deliverables that are coming along over the next couple of weeks and months. We would like to welcome you, of course, again in these upcoming seminars, and we will announce it through the usual channels. Yeah, and we are looking forward to these upcoming seminars. For today, thanks again, Sana and Daniel and everyone who attended and participated and asked questions. Yeah, have a nice day.
Thank you for
Thank
joining.
you. It was nice to join. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.